poeldenujemy sobie teraz. Zaczniemy od klasy.
One of the great things about Elden Ring has always been the diversity of playstyles that it enables. And one of my favorite playstyles is loading up on strength, grabbing the largest weapon I can find, and crushing foes with posture-breaking jumping attacks and charged up heavy strikes. If that's you too, then allow me to introduce you to the Raider in Nightreign.
Czyli klasa pod wielką pałę. Czyli coś kompletnie nie dla mnie.
The other big burly class with lots of health and affinity for big weapons is more focused on defense with a shield as a starter weapon and an ultimate ability that can mitigate damage for the entire party for an extended period of time.
Też masz jedną wielką pałę.
The Raider is designed as an absolute offensive powerhouse. The most important ability of the Raider is Retaliate, which initially might not seem like a very strong skill on its own. After all, it's just 2 stomps that deal a bit of physical and poise damage. But the real magic is that thanks to the Raider's passive, he cannot be knocked down while doing Retaliate. This means that the Raider basically has a free damage soaking technique that will let you totally armor through pretty much any enemy or boss attack, with the added bonus of that weak second stomp getting replaced by an extremely powerful punch that will stagger even the largest enemies, if you manage to absorb an attack that would have done a substantial amount of damage.
Okej, czyli
Then done a substantial amount of damage.
skill, który atakujesz pięścią i możesz przyjąć atak na mordę i wtedy zadajesz jeszcze więcej damage'a.
Then there's the Raider's ultimate, Totem Stella, which has him slamming the ground and causing a large totem to erupt, dealing big damage to anything around it. Like all the other ultimate, big damage...
Ty, to może być broken, bo to zadajesz damage,
slamming the ground and causing a large totem to erupt.
pojawia się totem, a mamy ten, w Nightreinie, z tego co pamiętam, możliwość wbiegania po ścianach, czyli zakładamy, że to jest traktowane jako ściana, więc z automatu mage czy łucznik mógłby na to wbiec i po prostu mieć high grounda i bossa trochę schizować przez to, więc to może trochę zmieniać playstyle.
Dealing big damage to anything around it. Like all the other ultimates in Nightreign, this is an incredibly powerful technique that can alter the tide of the fight. Not only does it deal big damage, but the totem is climbable, giving both you and your teammates either a safe place to lay low or a vantage point to attack from. In addition to that, it also gives everyone a damage buff as well, meaning it's one of the first ults you'll want to coordinate using so that the rest of the team can benefit from it. The Raider starts with the Raider's Great Axe, which is a pretty solid starting weapon that deals some fire damage and has the Endure skill affixed to it, which basically gives you another way to absorb and power through enemy attacks in case Retaliate is on cooldown. Still, you'll definitely want to find a better weapon as the nights get closer, and large strength scaling weapons are definitely the Raider's go-to style of weapon. Of all the classes I played in Nightreign, the Raider is definitely the one that I had the most fun with. It's the one that is most well suited for one-on-one battles, which is appropriate because its remembrances, we'll talk about those later on in the month, have you fighting in one-on-one boss fights in a sort of gladiatorial arena, which is a nice change of pace. For more hands-on impressions of the most recently revealed classes in Nightreign, make sure to check out our video covering the Iron Eye class, and keep an eye out on this space for more.
Iron, a ja widziałem. Tak? Dobrze kojarzę? Tak, Iron ja widziałem, więc sobie go mogę obejrzeć, ale ja tutaj wiem. Ale jeśli chodzi o Raidera, Raider dla mnie, no nie jest klasą dla mnie, bo kompletnie nie jestem graczem pod wielkie pały, wielkie miecze i inne takie rzeczy. Jestem graczem, który bardziej woli deksowe buildy niż pod siłę. Chociaż jeśli będzie to się tak stagerować jak w Eldenie po prostu zwykłym, to taki Raider może naprawdę ładne stagery walić bossom. Nie możesz się utożsamić z wielką pałą. Nie mogę się utożsamić z wielką pałą. Dobra, szybkie Iron Eye, bo nie pamiętam czego widziałem.
While the bow has always been a powerful weapon in Elden Ring, generally it's meant as a support weapon. Something you use to pull aggro, or to weaken an enemy from afar before switching to your main weapon once they get into range, or to cause that one bird to fall to its death and farm its ruins over and over and over again. But when you're playing as the Iron Eye in Nightreign, the bow is the heart and soul of the class, which results in a playstyle that's very much unlike any of the other 8 Nightfarers in Nightreign, and one that is probably the closest thing to a support class that Nightreign offers.
Klasa podwóg w ogóle.
The first thing that I noticed while playing with the Iron Eye is that they are a very squishy class. They can of course use any weapon they
Ile ty masz HP?
can of course use
Ty
any
jesteś na
weapon they pick
hita.
up, but the main reason why you'll want to always have a bow handy is mainly so that you can stay out of the fray and not have to worry about taking hits, because it doesn't take many to put you down, especially early on. Fortunately, your starting bow is pretty solid. It does decent damage and has Mighty Shot as its skill, which lets you attack from super far away, deal extra damage, and also deal some extra poise damage as well. It's
No, dwa
also
tryby
worth mentioning
strzelania
that
z
the
łuku,
way
no,
bows work has largely
standardowo.
been reworked in Nightreign. For one, they fire much faster, and you're able to move much quicker while shooting at a locked-on enemy. You also, thankfully, don't need a supply of arrows anymore. This does mean that you're stuck with whatever arrow type your weapon comes with, but it's
Okej, czyli nie mamy strzał w gierce per se, ale łuk ma typ strzały już. Po prostu. Spoko. Bo to by było trochę kuriozalne, jakby mi się nagle skończyły strzały przy bossie. Z drugiej strony może być tak, że po prostu mam łuk, który jest chujowy na danego bossa. Też może być ten aspekt.
definitely nice to not have to worry about how many arrows you have left, or potentially running out of arrows in a boss fight. As for other neat new touches, there's a new animation for when you shoot an arrow out of a roll. You're able to do cool acrobatic stuff like run up walls, leap off, and loose an arrow for style points. You don't have to
fajne
use
to
first
może
person mode
być.
when manually aiming, and you move much faster while doing so. The strong attack can fire a spread of 3 arrows that
Zmienili-
can hit multiple enemies. 3 arrows, and you move much faster while doing
Zmienili trochę aima, bo trochę inaczej to wygląda.
don't have to
Powiem,
go
czym
into
będę
first person
grać.
mode when manually aiming, and you move much faster while doing so. The strong attack can fire a spread of 3 arrows that can hit multiple enemies at once. And yes, you can now backstab or use a visceral attack on a downed enemy with an arrow. Basically,
Okay.
everything that was missing from the bow in order to make it a viable primary weapon in base Elden Ring
To jest coś, co chciałbym w Eldenie czy Soulsach, jako łuk. Szczerze. Nie takie gówno jakim nie jest, tylko takie coś, że mogę stagerować, backstabować, trochę w Legolasa się bawisz.
The Iron Eye's main skill is marking, which is a very fast dashing dagger attack that goes through enemies and leaves them with a mark that will add extra damage from all sources. It's got a very short
Okay.
cooldown, which means that you can basically always have it up on a boss as long as you're being attentive to when the debuff is active. It's also a great mobility tool as it lets you pass right through enemies to get out of a bad spot. Iron Eye's ultimate is single shot, which as the name implies, is a single powerful shot.
Strzelasz parasolką! Ja to chcę.
This is basically Mighty Shot on steroids. It takes a bit to charge up, but you're fully invulnerable during the animation, and once it's fired, the shot deals big damage and goes through virtually everything straight ahead, making it great at taking out groups of enemies all at once. What really makes the Iron Eye shine on a squad, though, is how good they are at reviving allies from a safe distance. You see, the way ally revival works in Nightreign is that when someone goes down, there's a little partitioned circle that fills up above their character. By attacking your downed ally, you're able to empty that circle little by little, and when it's all emptied, they will return to life. Most classes need to
Okay.
get up close and put themselves at
No
significant
to
risk
jest
to try and revive an ally. Or they must expend mana to cast a ranged spell, or maybe even use their ultimate skill. But the Iron Eye can do it safely, from a distance, and without using any resources. That's an extremely valuable thing to have, and it can be the difference maker between a successful and a failed run. The downside is that every time an ally faints, another partition is added to the circle. And while the Iron Eye is great at rezzing allies that have only gone down once or twice, they will struggle to revive an ally that requires all 3 parts of the circle to be cleared, since they just don't have that kind of damage output from far away, unless they use their ultimate just for revival. While they may not be able to dish out the same kind of damage as some of the other classes, the Iron Eye's presence is always felt on the squad. Between their marking ability that makes everyone hit just a little bit harder, to their passive that increases the amount of items that everyone finds, to their mob clearing ult,
Czekaj, ma pasywkę, że zwiększa ilość itemów, którą ktoś znajduje?
to their passive that
Coś czuję, że to będzie must have w party do takiego szybszego girowania.
increases the amount of items that everyone finds, to their mob clearing ult, and to their unique ability to easily and safely revive people from a distance. The Iron Eye's utility is nearly unmatched among the rest of the Nightfarers. Nightreign, don't miss our Night Lord reveal gameplay, and for May's IGN first is Elden Ring Nightreign. We spent 2 days at From Software's office in Japan and have returned with a whole month's worth of gameplay reveals, hands-on impressions, interviews, and much more. To kick things off though, here's a brand new reveal of one of the 8 Night Lords you'll be facing off against, Libra, Creature of Night. Now, full disclosure, we eventually did get a successful run, as you're about to see, but our entire first day at From Software's office was us trying over and over and over again. Sometimes we went into the fight a little bit underleveled. Other times we just got destroyed by one of the boss's attacks that we weren't familiar with yet. And other times still, we just simply got outplayed. But we regrouped on day 2, came in with a game plan, and had a really good run leading up to the boss, and this was the result.
Okej, czyli na start możesz zwiększyć swoją siłę, czyli zwiększyć damage najpewniej po prostu. Resist zwiększyć lub być immune na defa, albo odrzucić. Okej.
It is done.
Ciekawe co za... jaki...
Time is ripe.
debuff dostajesz, jak się podejmiesz tego deala. Napierdala AOE tyle. Już będę uwielbiał tego bossa. Ale zabawnie chodzi. Na kuckach cały czas. Kolejna AOE. A ten atak ma w Eldenie są te kamienne koty. To one dosłownie mają taki ruch. Tylko on ma chyba szybszy niż te koty. No ale to jest ten moveset dosłownie. Madnessa jeszcze nabija. Okej, zmiana fal. Fala Rave'a, ma dasze jakieś, ma jakąś falę. Dziwny ten boss jest. Znaczy ja rozumiem, że on trochę musi być taki dziwny z dużą ilością AOE i tak dalej, no bo bądź co bądź, jak masz bić 3 postacie naraz jako boss, to potrzebujesz tych AOE. Okej, teraz zauważam, że ten rage jest czasowy. No bo on tutaj już nie ma tego efektu rage'a, więc wraca do swojego wcześniejszego movesetu. Trochę szkoda. I znowu Rage'a odpala. To ma jeszcze... Nie wiem, jakby fajny pomysł z tym początkiem, że możesz sobie deala zrobić z nim. Wątpię, że dostajesz tylko bonusy. Pewnie, nie wiem, jak masz więcej damage'a, to mniejsze resisty. Jak masz większe resisty, to mniej damage'a. Pytanie, co tutaj będzie negatywem, żeby wziąć tego deala. Dużo ma AOE, to boli. Na pewno gorszy dla mnie designowo to jest boss, niż jest ten wilk. Ale czekaj, to będzie drugi czy trzeci boss pokazany z tych 8? Na pewno to jest boss, na którego nie chciałbym trafić, bo ja jestem wielkim przeciwnikiem dużej ilości AOE u bossa. A z drugiej strony na pewno to jest boss, z którym chciałbym się pobić. Ma bardzo ciekawy moveset, jak już odpali Rage'a, więc mam takie mieszane odczucia. A do Eldena coraz bliżej. A propos coraz bliżej, 22 godziny temu IGN wrzucił kolejną rzecz odnośnie Eldena.
Elden Ring is a game steeped with lore. Story details are everywhere, from traditional cutscenes, environmental details, conversations with NPCs, and, yes, the FromSoft classic, even buried within item descriptions. But Elden Ring Nightreign is a very different type of FromSoft game. It's an online-driven co-op PvE game with roguelite elements. That makes it a bit difficult to deliver the usual kind of FromSoft narrative. So, how is the story in Nightreign conveyed? Well, let's talk a little bit about remembrances. So, to start, let's break down what the story of Nightreign even is. And who better to break that down than game director Junya Ishizaki. Nightreign shares essentially the base setting and the world of Elden Ring, but it's played out on a different stage, so to speak. So there's this concept called the Night Lord, which is a sort of abstract phenomenon or calamity that has befallen the lands between in this alternate timeline, and much like a real-life calamity, it's something that's not done by design or intention. It's just something that has occurred naturally, and it's befallen the lands between, and it needed some sort of opposition. It needs something to oppose it, and that opposition comes in the form of the Nightfarers, who are these warriors who are entrusted with the fate of opposing and defeating the Night Lord and putting a stop to this terrible calamity. And that's the setup that brings together our 8 different character classes who are gathered from all across Elden Ring's world. Nightreign's story
Nie w tym miesiącu, pod koniec maja.
is more about filling in the details of who these 8 characters are, and what was their past before having this responsibility thrust upon them to defeat the Night Lords. And to learn that, we have the remembrances. One of the stops that the player can make in the roundtable hold in between matches of Nightreign is a journal where you can view your character's remembrances. Some of these are just journal entries that reveal a little bit of information about that character's backstory. However, some of them are playable snippets of a moment from the character's past. When you launch into a playable remembrance, there will be a hazy dreamlike border around the screen, and you will be transported to the location of the memory.
Czekaj, co? Ja myślałem, że to po prostu było takie, że żeby wyjaśnienie backstory, czemu są te postacie i tak dalej, ale każda klasa będzie miała swój dziennik ze wspomnieniami, czyli co, opłacałoby się levelować każdą klasę? Pytanie, co za to będzie, żeby to zrobić? Zakładam, że to będą nie będzie to bez nagrody jakiejkolwiek. Bo tak to nikt by tego nie robił. A From Software też nie robi rzeczy bez powodu. Nie można się cofnąć do ich...
However, some of them are playable snippets of a moment from the character's past. When
Tak jak wspomnienie olbrzyma.
There will be a hazy dreamlike border around the screen, and you will be transported to the location of the memory. After talking with an NPC within a remembrance, you'll gain a personal objective. These will differ from character to character and remembrance to remembrance. For some, like the Iron Eye for example, your personal objective might be to launch into a match, travel to a specific marked location, and then defeat a mini-boss that will only appear there if the Remembrance objective is active. Once you do, you'll gain an item that you can bring to the flashback, and then you'll be able to move forward in the next chapter of that character's story. As mentioned before, the objectives themselves vary between classes and remembrances. Wilder, for instance, instead of having to fight a boss, might have to find a specific item located in a cavern, which is a location that you might not generally go to due to the risk of being stuck in there when the ring starts to close in. Then there's the Raider, who has a completely different style of remembrance. He gets transported away from the Round Table Hold and must participate in gladiatorial-like one-on-one battles against a variety of bosses. It's an interesting and very unique departure when it comes to storytelling for a FromSoft game. I personally have only gotten a small taste of these individual character storylines, but what I've seen and played through so far has me eager to see more once I get my hands on the full game. For more exclusive Elden Ring Nightreign coverage, don't miss our boss reveal.
Czyli tak, mamy wspomnienia, które dają nam obiektywy na mapie na przykład, żeby coś pokonać, żeby dalej ruszać w story postaci. Pytanie, czy jest do zrobienia całego story. I każda klasa będzie miała swoje questy, czyli zakładając, że ktoś grałby Iron Eye'em, ktoś grałby Mage'em, ktoś grałby Guardianem, zapomniałem jak się on nazywa, to no raczej 3 naraz byście nie zrobili w jednej gierce, bo no wątpię, że się wam ułoży tak, że wszystko będzie obok, chyba że będzie fart jakiś, no bo to trzeba wziąć pod uwagę RNG trochę. A Rider będzie miał po prostu solówę z bossami. Tutaj masz Gladiatora One Strike'a. Kojarzę ten model, bo że oni byli w dungeonach, jak dobrze pamiętam. Z nimi się fajnie walczyło na 1 na 1. To może być ciekawe. Jeśli bym zmienili trochę moveset, aż może Rider mnie zainteresował, chociaż dla aspektu tego 1 na 1 z bossami. Bo do samego Nightreigna, tego playstylu i tak dalej, nie nienawidzę wielkiej pały i dalej to podtrzymuję i będę podtrzymywał i jebać granie pod org bić. To tutaj to może być ciekawe.